Greetings! What is up, and a very warm welcome to the channel. The sun is hiding, the rain is perpetually pouring, and the magpie is now casting. Coming to you guys right now with a live 1 versus 1 battle, fresh from the top of the ladder, featuring spawning in the south, immediately choosing the Overwatch Doctrine, and therefore having access to the very spicy Goliaths, which are a favourite unit of mine. It is Dark Crow. And spawning in the north, playing as the Soviet forces, selecting the Soviet Airborne Doctrine, another favourite of mine actually, so this bodes well. We've got CoH2, who I might just call Coco, because the triple-barreled Co is a little bit much. And the map here is going to be Faymanville Approach. So yeah, both these players, I imagine we're going to see a fairly standard opener then. Overwatch Doctrine doesn't really offer you much in the way of ways to spice up the OKW early game, and typically when we see Airborne Doctrine, we usually see a conscript heavy opener. Of course, you can then at command point 1 start calling in the airdropped weapons and equipping those conscripts with SVD rifles to make them a much more potent combat unit. So I imagine we're going to see, well, we've already got the Kubel, so I imagine we're going to see Volks and Kubel versus, like, 4 squads of conscripts. 4 seems to be the number. People who are playing Airborne Doctrine with Soviets seem to be going for 4 conscripts. Don't know what's up with that. Anyway, what's the date now? It is now January the 10th. Happy new decade to you all out there. I hope you're all having a ton of fun. The decade has started off very busily for me. As you might have noticed, I haven't had time to upload any videos or do any casting, which has been weighing on my mind, but here I am now. Yay, new decade, great times. I don't know, like, this is just the beginning stages of the game. There's some initial scuffles going on. This is the kind of time when I wish I had a co-caster, so I'm just gonna, like, pretend I have a co-caster. So Magpie, 2020, what's going on? Oh, well, I'm glad you asked, Magpie. It seems like there's a... I don't normally like to talk about current affairs on the channel, so actually, you know what? I was about to start talking about current affairs. I'm just going to shoot myself down in advance on that. No amount of me talking about the stuff that's going on with America and all of the rest that's going on in the world is going to benefit anyone, I think. And this is not the place. I am not the guy. So let's not talk about that. I've got some reasonably exciting stuff in the works for the channel. I know I always say that, and it seems to perpetually never arrive, but I genuinely do. I've got some new art on the way for the channel that's going to look really safe. My setup in the front room is coming on. I've got the lighting is sorted in there. We're going to have a webcam. It's going to be dope. We've got a video capture card. We can do streaming. Anyway, I'm still excited about that. It's just... it seems like every week I have about half an hour spare to, like, tinker with my PC or, like, otherwise, like, set up that. So it's coming along steadily but slowly, and that is, I'm told, the way to win the race. So yeah, that's pretty cool. What else has been going on? I don't know. Oh man, yeah, I've been playing a lot of BattleTech actually. BattleTech is really good because it's not real time. So when I'm at home in my office, I can just kind of have it open and, like, just make a move or, like, you know, take a turn every, like, 15 minutes or so, and then, like, obviously I've got 2 monitors here, so then I can just, like, be doing my work on the other monitor. And I'm actually self-employed, which is well, it's a double-edged sword. It's a pros and cons, but, like, one of the pros is there's nobody looking over my shoulder going, "Oi, Magpie, you shouldn't be playing that BattleTech in the office." In fact, I get to look over my own shoulder and go, "Hey, Magpie, that's a pretty sweet move. I like what you did putting those SRMs on that Shadowhawk." And, you know, I get to, you know, I'm like the best boss in the world. So, alright, let's see now. Okay, so we are up to that magical number of conscripts, 4. This is what we were expecting. We've got pretty typical roster here from the OKW player as well. OKW player here taking the first couple of engagements just through superior weight of fire, forcing conscript squads back. Looks like the Kubelwagen will be forced off the line. That one's going to need some repairs here. And we've got a tech choice here coming up for Dark Crow. It's going to be mechanized at Regiment HQ, coming out in a reasonably forward location. Somewhat risky. It is not hard. Like, let's see how close this is. All right, here's his mechanized reg. All right, and then just over here is where the Soviet base is, and where the Soviet base is where Zis guns can get built. And basically what I'm saying is, this is not a long distance. It can be quite easy. We see on this map quite frequently, or well, it feels frequently anyway, Zis guns used to siege down OKW buildings, like quite a lot on this map. Because this map is sort of wider than it is long, it's easier to flank. Your opponent is very close to you, but the map is very wide, so... that's an interesting place for that one. I guess it's going to be easy to repair vehicles. You're making use of the Overwatch Doctrine, giving you expanded line of sight from this building. Your Goliaths are coming out that much closer to the opponent, so I guess that's cool. But yeah, just that's an interesting position there. But Dark Crow, clearly a player with a plan, and very much looking forward to seeing how that plan's going to come through. The airdrop weapons are now, you can hear the aircraft flying overhead. The crates will be dropping down. So SVD rifle is going to be popping up on these conscripts here. And that's going to make them much more formidable, a much more meaty unit for Dark Crow to have to counter on the field of battle. 2 stars now on this Kuba wagon, so that one 5 kills as well. Has been doing really well. These engineers slightly in jeopardy actually here. CoH2 should be paying attention. Actually, they do have heavy cover from the Kuba wagon. I didn't quite realise that. So we're gonna see. That's a lot of SVD rifles that are being dropped in. And I like it. I would love to see a tech choice. I would love to see the support weapon Campanaya. Because I think a Maxim would be really nice in this composition, and I think a Zisgun in the Soonish would be really good. I think, does CoH2 see how... Okay, he doesn't quite see the positioning on this yet, but once he identifies that this mechanized regiment HQ is so out there... Oh, I forget. Yeah, of course, you can just call in Dushkas on this doctrine, can't you? Alright, well, I take back what I was saying about a Maxim. Alright, braining gear, Magpie. Come on, you know this, Commander. Yeah, of course, you get the Dansak Dushka spicy MG on there. Rrr. Rawr, that's pretty meaty, that one.
Enemy forces are capturing our supplies.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to talk about this game when exciting things happen, and believe me, that's going to start happening soon, I would have thought. But another thing that's just, like, been on my mind recently, I've been practicing Smash Ultimate a lot recently, and I just picked up Fox the other day. And for any of you who play Smash, Fox is like an incredibly fast character, and for some reason it just felt so intuitive. I went out on the ladder and I was just destroying people, you know, like just like putting combos together, like getting offstage confirms, and just like, oh man, that was so cool. So yeah, I've been watching some tutorials from Light, because I'm a big fan of Light actually. If you guys haven't seen this, probably if you go on YouTube and search Smash Ultimate Light, there are some interviews with him and you can see some of his like top tournament moments and stuff. My god, he is just a really cool guy. Like, I first became a fan of his when he played a super intense high-level 1v1 for a lot of money and lost. And the first thing he did was just immediately grin, shake his opponent's hand and give him a massive hug. And like a lot of players do that, but you can tell from their demeanor and their body language, and you can sort of tell from their eyes that they're really hurting about it. But like, nah, he was genuinely just happy for his opponent, and to have made it that far in such a high-stakes tournament and still have that mindset is frankly phenomenal. So that was when I became a fan of Light. And it turns out I might be a fan of Fox as well, because god damn, I'm smashing face with it. I used to play Fox back in Melee. So yeah, so anyway, just putting it out there, there's some part of the other nerding that's going on in my life. I am doing that. I am killing nerds with Fox. Incendiary grenade going to come down here. Some conscripts are burning. CoH2 relentlessly refusing to diversify his composition, despite the fact that we've got a Panzer II Lukes on the field now. So it's going to be a T-70 build. All right, what was the tech then? So is support weapon Campanile. We've got Tank of E Battalion. T-70 on the way. That's going to help a lot. The T-70 pretty much counters all of the units up here in the top left. So that's going to be good. Obviously, it's going to pull a lot of weight against this Panzer II. Tank buster grenades ain't done yet. They ain't even on the queue. So I think we're probably going to need to see tank buster grenades coming up for CoH2. They're going to be really useful here. Just one of those things that, yep, there we go. They come on the queue, so they're going to be finished fairly quickly here. And with the T-70, CoH2 has an effective defense here against the Panzer II Lukes, but it is not a very strong defense. You know, anti-tank grenades, like, I feel like something pretty much has to go wrong for the Panzer II to get tagged by one of those. Like, you have to somehow catch the Panzer II off guard, or get it when the Axis player isn't actually paying attention to their tank or something, or force them into an ambushing unit of conscripts. And the T-70 alone also won't be able to really put together a kill. So I would like to see a Zisgun. Does CoH2 see the positioning on this building now? Oh, he still doesn't know. As soon as you know that this is right here, the Zisgun, like, just, you know that it offers you a lot more value, so I would love for him to scout that one. But we're not seeing... Actually, you know what? Speaking of Fog of War, let's just see how much line of sight is this building providing. Not as much as I recall. That is what this does, right? Oh, they detect units in Fog of War is what they do now. Oh. Okay, that's pretty cool. Okay, so I seem to remember when this commander was fairly fresh, and indeed, in my heyday, when I was killing loads of allied dudes with Goliaths, Oh, there's been a squad wipe on some conscripts. Well done, Magpie. Oh my god, I'm so rusty at casting. Yeah, back in the day, the Overwatch doctrine made that your deployed SWS trucks had like longer line of sight. Now it appears that they detect units in fog of war. I think that's probably a lot more useful. Well, I don't know. It feels like it could be a lot more useful. Kubuwagen going to sneak away from the fight intact, and this Soviet roster is now looking considerably depleted. One of the dangers of the airborne doctrine is that you're spending so much money in terms of like munitions and manpower to some extent, calling in stuff that you often don't really have the sort of boots on ground, and we are seeing that from CoH2. He is heavily outnumbered here. 1 light tank and 3 core squads to 1 light tank and 3.5 core squads with a couple of supporting units here in the MG and the Kugel. Now, guards airborne are being deployed in, and that is going to massively help with this numbers game here. But losing that conscript squad early on is a bitter pill to swallow, because guards elite airborne are super cool. What are they called? Guards airborne troops. Guards airborne troops are really cool. But they are expensive to reinforce, and they do feed veterancy, and you don't want to over-rely on them, and you ideally do want to have a conscript meat shield in front of them in most fights. Like, the conscripts are the units you want to be taking the fire. Guards are pretty damn pricey, so 1 squad of guards is fine for now. I'd love to see him get another squad of conscripts and then look for a second squad of guards. I think if he goes up to 2 squads of guards right now, I'll be a little concerned that he's just running a very small to overly expensive composition into the face of an opponent who already has an MG and a light tank, so we'll see what he's going to do here. I still would love to see a Zis gun. I just would love to see a Zis gun. But anyway, a lot of fire coming down onto this retreating MG34 squad. Not the end of the world if it dies, of course. Another squad will pick it up, but it would be nice to wipe the veterancy off of that one. Panzer II holding the line here. Let's take a look at the scoreline. Wow, actually, I didn't realize the scoreline had opened up this much, actually. It's like a 150 ticket lead almost for the Axis player. So, wow, that's pretty nice. But the story right now, turning to be one of Soviet domination, about to have double fuel, about to have triple cap. So, CoH2 somehow doing a lot with a little here. Look at the top left, look at the top right. I would expect the Axis player to be dominant on the field. But CoH2 is actually making things happen. Now, this is once these squads that are on the front line fighting get exhausted down, there we go, now they're going to have to start falling back. This conscript squad probably next to fall back. And then the Axis player will be able to move back out. There we go, already challenging this fuel actually, so the double fuel was never actually in place for CoH2. But still, denying a fuel point is nice, getting a triple cap. You do need to start catching up on the scoreline, and this is how you start doing that. So I like what I see. If we crack the tack, we can see that last phase of play, very dominant for the Soviet player. But now the small Soviet army is being forced back. These conscripts here will have to fall back momentarily, I imagine. And that will enable the Axis player with the larger and better composed, for my money, army to head back out onto the field. So going up to a second squad of engineers, actually this is a really smart choice. I actually like this better than my previous suggestion of going conscript into second squad of guards or something like that. This is really nice because this is just another capping squad. Engineers are hyper useful and they're super cheap, so I just love going for these engineers here actually. It's really smart. CoH2 just proving to be a much better player than I am, although that's not particularly hard. Right, Dushka MG has been called in, so now we've got a much more diverse roster here for CoH2. I'm starting to feel slightly better about the Soviet Army's chances as this game goes forward. Let's check the tech here. Battle Group at HQ has finished here for Dark Crow. Medics finished on that building, so that's going to provide some utility for the Axis forces here. I imagine... Oh yeah, Schwer Panzer HQ is detected whilst coming up. Oh, risk! Soviet units going to swarm on in here, but they're going to be too late. Panzer HQ will finish. Any hit you can score on it whilst it's constructing is like massively damaging. So the T-70 got 1 hit in, and that's taken off a good chunk of health here. Soviet forces want to occupy this area before the Axis forces can stabilize, and it looks like they're going to be able to do so. T-70 overrunning. Kettenwerfer goes down. So now it's just Panzer II with busted engine versus T-70 with similar health. That usually favors the T-70, although he is going to expose rear armor. A bit dangerous. Loads of Axis troops getting suppressed out here. Volks Grenadiers getting wiped out. The Dushka doing work here, although Storm Pioneers are going to counter that one. So, wow, given as good as he gets here as Dark Crow. What happened in the tank battle? Okay, so the Panzer II Lukes manages to creep away. The gun was lost on the T-70, so that'll be why. And a lot of Soviets going to fall back here. Chance of a squad wipe on the airborne. The airborne guards go down. He doesn't even... He's stunned. He can't even believe he was shot. He's like, what the... And that, oh wow, after that exchange, because now the Dushka is just here. Ugh, the Axis player can grab that, and we've even got the dedicated salvage troops on the field here. Jaeger light infantry are on the field. G43 is coming up for them. So things looked turbo dicey there for Dark Crow, but breaking the gun on the T-70 was massive because it meant that he was able to keep his Panzer II Lukes intact, and despite the Dushka wiping out a squad of Volks, that is actually fine if you get the Dushka out of the bargain. And Dark Crow, I would love to see him grab that with some Volks. Maybe, I'm sure he will as soon as he gets round to it. He's going to repair the Schwerpanzer HQ as well, and that's going to buy him some time now to put the flak cannon with Panzer authorization onto that flak HQ. Now, oh man, that was a real kind of like razor's edge kind of moment in the game there. Actually, these Jaegers getting caught out here, that's a bit unlucky for them. But that was a real razor's edge moment in the game there. There was a lot of dice being rolled in that battle and a lot of decisions being made by both players, and it could have come out like with a massive Soviet, like, you know, if he loses that position, and the gun on the T-70 doesn't break, that means that the Panzer II dies. That means he probably loses his Schwerpanzer HQ, and then he's kind of trapped in his base. Things look really glum. As it is, things look a lot better than that, obviously. So yeah, he's going to lose his Kugelwagen here. That's a shame. That thing was up to 4 stars and it was doing really well, but you never expect these units to last too long. Kugelwagens, of course, turbo fragile. So that's acceptable here. T-70 going to be the sorry, T-36 here going to be the choice here. So mechanized armored Campanier has finished. I mean, this is reasonable. I don't mind the T-34 here. Because you saw your opponent's Panzer HQ timing, so you know you don't have to worry about a Panzer IV or a Panther or any unit out of that building for a little bit here. Also, oh, the Dushka here does get stopped. Okay, stopping that from being stolen is pretty big. But it is now under the arc of this Schwerpanzer HQ, so you're unlikely to ever retrieve that now as the Soviet player. T-34 comes in here for a nice fight, and that's going to be really useful. Does CoH2 actually see that the tech tree is completed? Okay, CoH2 does not know about the battle group at HQ, so I mean, basically knowing about that is important because that is an indication that Dark Crow is going for a Tiger II build, like a King Tiger build. So you always want to know about that as the Soviet player, so you can start making adaptations. So anyway, incendiary rounds get used on the MG34 here. That's going to cause a lot of units to have to fall back. Volks Grenadiers are finally going to connect with this Dushka, but the T-70 here is making life hell for any squad trying to get onto that machine gun. I imagine he will be able to get it out here. T-34 is here, but there's no real answer. Rakettenwerfer actually has been remanned, has the T-34 in arc, so actually I take it back. There is a real answer. It's going to force the Soviet medium back. And, I mean, CoH2 here holding strong. But, I mean, behind it, the triple cap is here. Still not double fuel, though. Crucially for the Axis player, fuel is flowing. The vital lifeblood of the Axis battle line. You need fuel. If you do not have fuel, you will usually lose. That is Company of Heroes 2 in a nutshell, really. So, yeah, fuel is flowing in at a reasonable rate. The fuel disparity, not too big. 29 for the Allied player, 20 for a Dark Crow here. So I should either use names or factions, but not mix them. Like 29 for the Allied player and 20 for Dark Crow is like one of the most confusing ways I could word that. Nicely done. Soviet tanks here just pressuring the Axis position every time Dark Crow attempts to move out onto the map. CoH2 is going to try and tax him, slow him down, bleed manpower, try and just get damage done with these tanks. And that is his right, and he's doing it well, executing nicely. However, Volks Grenadiers have snuck out onto the map, and they're going to disrupt that triple cap, which CoH2 has been established for so long. Actually, CoH2 also, worth noting, has access to the Sturmovik rocket run, so that's a thing which could be a deciding factor in a battle coming up here. Oh, speaking of which. Okay, a couple of the rockets find the Panzer II. That'll force it out of circulation for a while, but no kill. For 100 munition ability, that one's pretty damn good. Conscripts here find themselves under the arc of a machine gun. It's the Dushka and the MG34 getting set up here as well, so plenty of suppression. Look at this army in the top right, and look at this army in the top left, sorry, and compare. I mean, it's kind of a fair fight right now, but I think I like, the longer this game goes on, though, I think the better Dark Crow's position gets. Like, we're creeping on towards Axis fuel income here, and as soon as a proper Axis fuel unit comes out, anything Panzer IV tonnage or bigger, like, I really start worrying then for CoH's chances in this game. Although, having said that, oh, what are we spending fuel on? A Katusha? Alright. I was about to say, CoH actually has like enough fuel to like get an Su-85 in response to a potential Axis fuel unit. But we're going to go for the Katusha, a much more aggressive choice. This is a great map for a Katusha. As I was saying earlier, it's not very long and it's very wide, which means that the Katusha can be taking shots from like here, and it's like pretty close. You know, you will be squad wiping units like along this line if your Katusha is here, and it is not hard to put. I mean, this is a safe position right now for the Soviet player. A Katusha here right now could be fine, and also you know where your opponent's buildings are. You can start pressuring down these buildings if you want to. It's kind of a bit of a wasteful use, but yeah. I do like the Katusha choice, and the likelihood is that, given that your field control right now is good as the Soviet player, the likelihood is that you will be able to save up for an additional Soviet fuel unit by the time the Axis player, or shortly after the Axis player, has a vehicle coming out. So, yeah, I think CoH here identifying a window where a Katusha can be squeezed out very nicely. Wow, T-70 actually, the Kettenwerfer crew is down. T-70 starts working down the Kettenwerfer. Would love to pick that one up. The Panzer II is going to come into challenge. Oh my god, it's just rolling miss after miss. It's a stationary target. You're a 3-star T-70. What the hell? Somebody confiscate the vodka. Infantry units being lost. Loads of infantry units being lost. And the Katusha barrage is going to start raining in for very little effect, to be honest. But I just saw Volksgrenadiers going down. There was like 2 units lost here. It was Volksgrenadiers and I'm not sure what. Probably did those Volksgrenadiers die trying to recover the Kettenwerfer? I don't know. I had the camera down to the south. My bad. So, okay. Heavy losses being suffered here by Dark Crow, who manages to break out from under the triple cap. The scoreline near as makes no difference even now. So that last phase of Soviet domination has addressed the early game advantage. Ah, more Volksgrenadiers go down at a crucial moment when Dark Crow really can't be affording to lose any. He's just lost a load. He's just lost all his core infantry. Brutal. And he's just spent loads of manpower on a Panzer IV. So there's going to be a window of time starting now where the Axis player is going to be under heavy stress, heavily duressed, heavily pushed for boots on ground, and that's risky. So we're going to have to see how he's able to weather this next phase of play. Katusha is also out there, so about every minute and a half, I think it's like 100 seconds or so, the reload on the rocket barrage. So I think it might be like 110 actually, or something like that. We'll pay attention on the next barrage. It changes with veterancy, so yeah. Alright, yeah, he's bringing out the Tushy here. Alright, Panzer IV is going to finish, and that is going to be a much-needed bolstering unit. And to be honest, as far as single unit strength goes, the Kingmaker on the field right now. And, you know, we've got 3 squads of conscripts with tank buster grenades, we've got a T-34 and a T-70. You can definitely cobble together a Panzer IV kill with that, but it's not easy. You don't really have a dedicated AT gun. You know, with a Zis gun, this Panzer IV looks a lot worse. So I guess what I'm saying is I'd quite like CoH to go for a Zis gun still. I just think one Zis gun would just round out this composition so nicely. He can afford it, he can protect it. It's just good on this map. If it's not shooting at vehicles, you can use it to pressure down tech buildings. I just like it, basically. Another Dushka out on the field here. Panzer IV is going to find that one, so that'll be a nice snack for it to start leveling up on. Pardon me. Alright, Katusha is ready. So he's going to be looking for a target. This Dansak is a tempting target if you can see it. Yeah, he can. So that's a tempting one. Ooh, Kettenwerfer is back there as well. It's going to be an Su-85. Lovely timing on the Su-85. You wait till your opponent commits to the Panzer IV and then you counter with the Su-85. Very nice.
Enemy forces are capturing our supplies.
Alright, Katusha fires. So the cooldown is, yeah, about 110 seconds. It's like 107. Oh, a bit of a wasted barrage there. I mean, yeah, he gets a couple of Jaegers, but I mean, that is not enough to write home about. And it's some veterancy, I guess, but it's not the barrages we want from the Katusha. This is not what we had in mind when we paid the fuel for this Katusha. Now, the Soviet offense, reinforced, comes pushing back out here. The Axis player now falling behind in the scoreline. This is a strong Red Army here. It's just doing work. the Axis player, we just have continuous fighting along this line of the map. But now the Su-85 is actually ready. And this is just such a devastating map for an Su-85 because, again, there's a very safe position right here, which is very threatening. The range on the Su-85 is intense. So you can keep the Su-85 very well looked after, surrounded by friendly units in a very difficult-to-access spot. And just have it plinking away at these units. The penetration on the Su-85 will be fine against the Panzer IV, and by the time heavier units come out, it will have vetted up. Whoa! Whoa, 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 whoa! It gets flanked immediately, though. Okay, wow. CoH2 paying attention. He's on the ball. Oh, Tank Buster Grenade connects right when the Su-85 comes out. This could well be a dead Panzer IV. This is what Su-85s are born for. It'll need 2 more shots. And the reload speed is not quite there. The tank strafing run comes in, and that will do the job. Nicely done there, CoH2, putting on a convincing display of Soviet power. So convincing, in fact, that he has broken the psychology of his Axis opponent. He's broken the mentality of Dark Crow, who, I mean, Dark Crow, yeah, you are pretty much out of this game, actually. When you look at the top left and look at the top right, the situation is dire. If you're playing for $10,000, you probably keep playing, but not when you're just playing on a Friday afternoon, trying to, you know, enjoy your life a little bit. You don't want to stay in that game there. So yeah, I don't know what it is, man. Soviet victories, they just get me fired up. I love it. Well, it's just so cool. I mean, he had a T-34, and he had the Su-85, and he had the IL-2, and it just like, it's like out of the books. It's like out of your imagination. The Soviet army in this game kind of plays how you would hope a Soviet army in this game plays, and I really like that. To be fair, I think they've done a good job of all the armies in this game. They all mostly play kind of how... Are we really getting CPU easy in the auto? Is no one playing this game at the moment? Wow. So, alright, well, we've got another game here with CoH2, this time also against a new OKW opponent on a map that I think is pretty hype, so I'm going to load this one up. Looks like there's going to be a 2-minute delay onto the start of this one, which I do apologise for. 2 minutes, to be honest, is probably not worth me cutting and pasting the videos together. The reason being is that has implications for the overall video quality, and it just takes like a little while for the processing to do, and it's just for 2 minutes of downtime I will just sit here on the mic and just kind of I don't know what can I say, expose you all to the unedited thoughts that go on inside of Magpie's head, which is probably terrifying, to be honest. You've been warned. If you want to skip ahead on the YouTube video for 55 seconds, now's the time to do so, because I'm going to spend this time talking about whatever I like, which I actually haven't really haven't really thought of anything that needs talking about. Hang on a second, let's get this set up. Well, let's see. We've got 35 seconds. Let's see what else is hype these days. I mean, there's a lot good. I mean, this is a video games channel, and video games are really like big in my life, obviously. So I do want to talk about video game stuff, but it's actually kind of a quiet moment for video games generally right now. Pokemon was a bit of a letdown, I gotta say. I was not hyped about the new Pokemon game. They did just at the new Pokemon Direct like announce a load of new stuff for it, and that is somewhat redeeming, but I don't want to have to spend £30 to make a game, or sorry, $30 to make a game that costs $60 in the first place, like, playable. Like, it's just not... I mean, if you're going to sell me a AAA rated full price game for $60, it better be AAA. You know what I mean? Like, don't try and fix it with DLC. There are glaring problems with Pokemon Sword and Shield, which for me are game breakers, and those issues have still not been resolved, even with this DLC, which I have to say does look good. It's going to help the game, but I mean, yeah. Not that it matters, though. Game Freak, the Pokemon company, Nintendo are drowning in the amount of money they made off of those games. Seemingly, the quality does not matter, and you've got to say, the Pokemon games have always appealed to the casual fan base as much as the sort of hardcore gamers and the competitive sort of Pokemon scene. So, I mean, that is to be expected. Pokemon also, you might not know this actually, but Pokemon is the most, in terms of like dollar value, it is the biggest franchise on the planet. That's right, it's bigger than whatever else you can think of. Bigger than Star Wars, bigger than whatever other entertainment franchise you can think of. Pokemon, like, if you look at the numbers, Pokemon kind of makes Star Wars look a bit silly. Like, not silly, just, like, small. It's funny to think that Pikachu is, like, way bigger than, like, stuff in Star Wars. I'm so bad at Star Wars. Like, Darth Skywalker or whatever it is. I was always a Star Trek kid growing up, actually, I've got to say. Like, I'm a big sci-fi fan. I grew up reading Isaac Asimov and Wyndham's novels and like all the good stuff. I grew up reading old school sci-fi and Dune and the Dune series, and I've always just had a special place in my heart for sci-fi. So I love watching the Star Wars films, but it's not for the storyline because, let's face it, Jesus, what the hell were they doing? But I do like watching the Star Wars films because there's tons of cool spacecraft, there's tons of cool planets, there's just really cool sci-fi design space going on, and it's kind of completely incidental to the plot. It's all the stuff that's going on in the background, and the characters never talk about it. It's just stuff that's going on. But the worlds that they create for Star Wars, let's put it that way, interest me a lot. That's really cool. The plot, not so much. That is a snooze fest for me. That is trash tier. Yes, that's what I'm saying. So yeah, I guess I was a Star Trek kid growing up. Why am I talking about this? Oh yeah. Yeah, got onto that from Pokemon. Alright, initial stages of this game. I haven't done the player introductions. That's rude. Let's do that. Spawning in the east, playing as the Soviet forces, already with a win under his belt. It's going to be CoH2. And spawning in the west, playing as the OKW forces. It is the newcomer, DX333. Definitely his first time on the channel, and a warm welcome to you, good sir. You have a stiff task ahead of you, mate. You're going to have to break this Soviet player who's coming off a win, feeling confident. What other commanders are you rolling with here? Ooh, that's an IS-2 commander. Yep, so we've got shot rifle frontline tactics, and we also have mechanized. Okay, it's gone away. So he's going with Soviet airborne again. Looks like that's the commander that CoH2 is comfortable with at the moment. And already we've got the rifle packages coming in. So SVDs are going to be popping up on these Soviet units here promptly. Got a bit of a sort of disorganized battle line going on right here. Conscripts punching through all the way to the Axis base. Volksgrenadiers punching through all the way to the Soviet base. So fighting going on both sides here. Conscripts are getting forced back. Engineers actually going to come in and have a go at these Volksgrenadiers. That doesn't seem wise. I'm pretty sure you don't win this fight, lads. But anyway, going to trade out for damage nonetheless. Whoa, yeah, these Grenadiers need to GTFO. CoH2, are we paying attention? These are Storm Pioneers. There we go, yep, cool. Storm Pioneers don't really take prisoners once they get into range, so really want to fall back before those Storm Pioneers get up on top of your dudes. Alright, Conscript's going to get into mid here, throw down sandbags. Pretty standard stuff here for both these players. What's DX rolling with? Panzer Elite, or Elite Armored Doctrine, I should say. Grand Offensive and Scavenge Doctrine going to be the three here for DX333. This is probably a fine map for any of those, to be honest. So we'll have to see what DX reckons is going to be the winning choice here. Additional SVD rifles being dropped in. Conscripts coming out here for a loop-de-loop, bit of a flank here. And that is going to be pretty harsh for these Axis soldiers. They're going to be trapped in a bit of a killing field here. Wow, he's going to start taking shots at this range. Okay, fair enough. Wow, these SVDs don't take prisoners. Oh, it's brutal. Get out of there, my Axis friend. You lose. You lose this fight. The map is shortly to begin, I believe, turning red. So some convincing fights here. CoH2 looks like quite a proficient player when it comes to sledgehammering people with conscripts with SVDs in the early stages of the game. So, yep, nicely done. The Axis player here with no units on the map. Sorry, I take it back. With one unit on the map. Going to be forced to try and make a stand here. Is that a complete cutoff then? It basically is. So that's a gross resource differential. Plus 26 and plus 42 fuel and munitions respectively for CoH2. Over the 10 and 16 for DX333. So that is gross. Every second that goes by with this resource differential is going to leap CoH2 further ahead in this game. And that's really nice. Focus fire coming down on the Storm Pioneers. Realizes he's not going to get that. This is way too many KAR-98Ks, and that will force back these. I say that. I thought those conscripts for sure were being forced back, but no. Additional conscript waves are coming in. There we go. They're going to be forced back. Oh, getting pretty low there. But they're going to exfiltrate safely. Oh wow, is he actually going to take this fight? Okay, an incendiary grenade here going to be used to disrupt the cover and force these conscripts to move, but. Oh my god, they're trading so well. These SVDs just piping damage into the faces of the Axis units, who are just... I mean, he's unable to break out of the doorstep of his own base, which is kind of amazing when you think about it, because he only has to fall back like 20 meters or something to get his reinforce on. So, wow, CoH2 putting together a dominating start to this game, looking to secure double fuel here, and that is going to be crucial. Having said that though, sorry, Volksgrenadiers accessing South fuel, going to be something of a lifeline for DX's chance in this game. Yeah, by denying that fuel, that is massive. You are substantially cutting down the material gains that your opponent is making from this ludicrously strong opening, so I like that. That is strong. Volksgrenadier is going to start getting out onto the map as well. You know what? No real triple cap was established, so the scoreline, like, pretty even. So, despite getting a fairly severe mauling in the early stages of the game, the Axis army comes out of this. No squad wipes were really inflicted. The Axis army... Looks like DX just kept his head, just knew that as long as he kept reinforcing and falling back his units, he was closer to his base than the Soviet units were to theirs, so he was going to be able to break out. Look at the carnage that was inflicted around here, though. Yikes. But yeah, DX keeps calm, carries on, gets out onto the map, and now we're going to be able to see. It's going to be Mechanized Regiment tech choice for him. So, so far, so similar to the last game we saw, actually, although so far, CoH2 moving forward in this game with 4 squads of conscripts with SVDs intact. If you remember in the last game, suffered an early squad wipe, going down to 3 squads of conscripts quite early on. But, well, these folks, that's a squad wiping opportunity. Yeah. DX takes his eye off the ball for a moment, loses a squad of Volks out on the map. And that's the kind of unforced error that you just don't need to make. Well, that's the definition of an unforced error. I'm so good at commentary. But seriously, those kind of unforced errors are, you know, we see them from time to time. It does happen. He was just slow on the fallback with that squad, basically. Had every indication that he needed to fall that squad back, I think, for several seconds there. Was unable to. Company of Heroes 2 is tough like that. It be like that sometimes. It's a skill-intensive video game, and even top players make mistakes from time to time. Even top players drop the easy ones rarely. It happens. Everybody does. And unless you're on this game for like several hours a day really polishing your skills, there's just going to be a percentage of the time that you miss these calls. So unfortunate that in this instance he happens to be in a game that's being cast by me, and everyone gets to see that mistake. But there we go. It happens. And it probably happens to him a lot less than it happens to me. So there we go. MG34 here gets set up, going to attempt to deny CoH2 from reclaiming this very powerful position on the doorstep of the Axis base here. Whoa, he picks up the MG34 and comes running out. Focus fire from the Soviet units could inflict some losses on that unit. Wow, he gets up nice and close with it, though. That will be a fallback. These conscripts have to fall back. At that range, an MG34 will just chainsaw all your dudes in half very quickly. And that is not cool. Bro, Storm Pioneers here getting focused down. Gonna force them off the line. Wow, CoH2 just consistently trading for value. And in this game, the Panzer II Lukes is a little bit further behind because there's been less fuel income for the Axis player. So the T-70 actually going to be first on the field here, only by a few seconds. But just interesting to note the differences between this and the last game, seeing as how they are actually running quite similarly. Insofar as like, oh no, really? Oh no. See, that's just another unforced error squad wipe there. And that's really tough there for DX. Oh no, these Storm Pioneers coming out and they're so low. A bit of focus fire from these Volks. Sorry, from these conscripts. Okay, not going to happen right now, but that could have been close. Oh really? Another squad wipe? Yikes. Okay, well, I knew it probably wasn't going to be a hot day for the ladder when like the second rated game on the ladder featured an easy CPU. That never bodes well. I guess, I mean, it is Friday. It is not late enough for the Americans to be awake, and it is a bit too early for the good Europeans to be playing. So, yeah, this is not an optimal time to be casting, I suppose, but it is the time that I had, so... Either that right, or it was a really good player who had set his gamer tag to CPU easy. If so, my metagaming hat doth tip to you, sir, because that's game. I like that. That's the equivalent of like when you're playing like hard mono blue control or something stupid like that. It's the equivalent of like having a red deck box and putting like fireball sleeves on your cards and like shuffling up whilst you anxiously skin up a cigarette. You're like, yeah, I want this game to be over in 10 minutes. Yeah, bro, I'm definitely playing Burn. Definitely playing Burn. Your opponent like mulligans to a hand which is like decent against Burn, and then like turn one you just play like Island, and they're like, oh great, you're one of those. That is a lot of deep MTG culture references, and I apologize to those of you who are not like au fait with Magic the Gathering, but let's just say that that's a really sweet metagame bluff that you can do on people. You can just take a deck that plays one way and make it look like you're playing something totally different. you know, whilst we're talking about MTG here, and the game is not super close, I'm going to say the last big tournament I was at, it was like I think it was maybe a 400-player tournament. It was pretty big, like for England, that's fairly big anyway. And it was late on in the day, maybe around 7 or 8, and I came up against this guy, and he had the red deck box, and it, with permanent marker, had burn written on the top. And pulled out his cards, and they had red sleeves, and he starts shuffling. I start shuffling. The game, you know, we're waiting for the judges to tell the players to begin the round. We're waiting for the clock to start. And the way he put the deck box on the table and everything, like, you know, with the burn label facing me and everything, I was just like, this guy is sending out some pretty big signals that he is playing burn. And I was just so prepared. I kept a hand which would have been crap against burn. I kept a long game hand because I was just like, at a tournament like this, nobody puts out these obvious signs. His turn 1, he lays down Urza's Tower, and I just look at him and I just say, that is sneaky, sir. Well tried. Basically, for those of you who don't know, Urza's Tower is like the furthest away thing from a basic mountain, which is like the burn opening land. So basically, yeah, I read his signs and I called his bluff. And I actually went on to win that game against, and that match. I went on to win that match against the deck, which is really a bad matchup for me. But yeah, taking game 1 was really big. Anyway, sorry, I am blabbering on about past MTG memories that do not apply here even remotely. This is just an Axis player who's in the process of getting beaten down. To his credit, he's actually kept it close in the scoreline. Oh no, please don't lose your Storm Pioneers. The T70. Ah! Ah! Okay, he gets away. He gets away with it. All right. Yeah, to be fair though to the Axis player, DX here, still being active out on the map. Scoreline fairly close, although now under a triple cap, won't stay that way. Soviet army, I mean, it's not overwhelmingly large, but it is overwhelmingly well equipped and vetted. You know, 4 squads of conscripts with many stars of veterancy, a T70, SVDs on all these guys. This is scary stuff. Losing all your core infantry was really rough there for DX. But he's coming back out now with an army which is small and functional. You know, he can actually get things done if he plays well from this point on. So we'll see. Getting his Panzer II hit. Oh no, that's a tank buster into the Sturmovik run. Okay then. All right, you can go ahead and leave the game now, DX. That is over. This has been a savage mauling at the hands of the Soviet airborne doctrine here. And yeah, I would leave the game at that point as well. Alrighty then. Wow. Well, that one not particularly competitive. As I was saying, yeah, I mean, on balance, this is probably not the best time to be casting because the Americans ain't up yet and your best Europeans are probably all still at work. I mean, it is a Friday after all. So, we're going to take one more look at the live game lobby, pick one more to cast, and then sadly I am out of time. I gotta go. I've got stuff to do, things to go and get, and an evening of revelry to prepare for. So, let's have a look and see if we can find a decent game. Whoa, what is going on here? Oh, did I click on the wrong? Yeah. Alright, so we've got Rajan versus a decent collection of symbols there. Nicely done. We're mixing many different alphabets here. We've got CPU Easy. Please tell me that this is a player who's set their name to CPU Easy. It's not, is it? Is it? That actually can't really be a CPU Easy, can it? I don't think so. Alright, well, given that there's a 6-minute timer to the next top-rated one, and I have to go in, well, 10 minutes, I guess that is sadly going to be the end of this cast. Well, kind of a shame that we didn't come across any like super close turbo nail-bitey games today, but that be the way when you cast from the live game ladder. Yeah, I'm hoping, hopefully on Sunday, I will have another castable window of time in my life. That'll be really good. Yeah, wishing you all a really good start to 2020. I hope it's going to be a cracking decade for you guys out there. Thanks very much for tuning in. This for now, Magpie842 signing out.